Hello, everybody. My name is Lindsay, and I also go by NekkoMeneko. As you can tell, this is probably a little bit different of a video than you were expecting by the thumbnail. I'm going to be telling a story time from NekkoMeneko. This story is all about the experience I've had that made me kind of terrified of the dark. This was something that happened to me a few years back. I want to say I was either in middle school or a freshman in high school. I can't remember exactly how old I was. I was between the age of probably 13 to 14. No, 12 to 13, I think is what. 12 to 13, somewhere around that age. And this experience happened to me, and after this experience, I've always just been like really scared of the dark. Granted, I don't want to give too much away. I figured out what happened at the end of this story, but it's kind of my scary story, and we're gonna just go ahead and jump right into telling you. So, like I said, I was 12 or 13 at the time, and my parents trusted, I have two older brothers. My parents trusted us to stay at home by ourselves, and at this time, or during this time, my oldest brother was out living with his girlfriend, so it was just me and then my other older brother, he's the middle child. And so a lot of times my parents would go on like little vacations. I think they were at the beach. A lot of times they went to the beach. And so it was just me and my brother at home by ourselves. And a lot of times my brother, he was in high school at this time. He would go to high school parties like all the time. You know, they would always go to high school parties. He would leave me home alone. And that never bothered me. I liked staying home alone. It was cool, you know, when you're that age. Yeah, I'm tough. I can stay home by myself. I can take care of myself. I don't care, you know, so I kind of had the attitude. So anyways, a lot of times he would leave me home alone, and like I said, I didn't care. So this one time he went off to do his party, so this was like a Saturday night. It was probably around midnight. I stayed up super late. I was on the computer chatting to friends, you know, on AIM, MSN, you know, those things back in the day that we used to do. If you're not my age, you might not quite understand what those are, but they were like chatting things where you had a way to communicate to your friends via online, like kind of like, you know, like text messaging, but like computer back and forth, but really quick. Anyways, so I was doing that, jamming out to my music, having a good time, and then we'll probably say, let's fast forward, probably got to like 12:30ish or so. Once again, just having a good time, sitting there and not expecting anything. And really quickly, I want to pre-reference something. My childhood home, we lived out in the country. We didn't really live, it was you know, country. There was on our street we lived on, there was houses down this street, and but like other than that, the houses were really spread out, and like it wasn't somewhere like we had to drive at least 15 to 20 minutes to get into the town or like to major shopping and stuff. So there wasn't tons of people out where I lived. Like I said, it was literally in the country. We lived on like on an acre of yard or land, which is a ton for the country. Like that's really small. But either way, it wasn't like, you know, smack dab in the middle of the city or anything like that. So here I am at, is, you know, really dark. It gets really dark out there at night. You know, there's some like there was a little street light kind of out by my house. But anyways, here I am enjoying myself, and then all of a sudden, all I hear is boom! This giant explosion, and like a giant flashing light. The freaking power goes out. It is pitch freaking black in my house. And all I saw was just like, or heard this huge explosion. I see this freaking blaring ass light coming, and like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just like, dropped everything, and I was like panicking. I was like, what just happened? And so the only reason why I'm thinking this was maybe my middle school years is because the fact that I don't remember having a cell phone, and or if I did, I don't remember ever using it or grabbing it, because I would think I would have grabbed it for like a light source. And then two, I don't know, you thinking for one or whatever, called 911. But let me continue on to the story. So here I'm in the dark. A giant explosion just happened. I saw a crazy flash of light. I have no idea what's going on. I'm already panicking at this point. Like, my heart is freaking pounding. I'm just like by myself in the middle of the country. Granted, there's a couple neighbors, but still, it was still really scary. Then all of a sudden, I hear screaming. I hear screaming coming from outside, and I'm just like, oh my God, what's going on? Someone's getting murdered. I hear screaming, and so right where I was, there was a sliding glass door right there. I don't know, I guess I was panicking, but I guess I was kind of curious at the same time, because I cracked it open, and these girls are screaming their heads off, and all of a sudden I hear one going, I'm bleeding! And I'm just like, I was I don't know. I lost my shit. I was panicking at this time. I didn't know what was going on. I thought somebody was like legit. I thought someone was getting murdered. I didn't understand what the explosion of light was at the time. Some of you might have already connected the dots, kind of what happened. But yeah, so girls were screaming. I heard one was screaming that they were bleeding. I'm home alone. And this is where the point where I'm thinking I probably didn't have my phone yet, because I would have imagined me grabbing my phone and like calling 911 or something, but I didn't. So I'm assuming I didn't have my phone. So that's why I'm thinking I was in middle school at this time. So anyways, I'm panicking. I don't know what to do. I'm just losing my crap. It's pitch black. So what I end up doing is I can't see anything. Like I said, this is where the country part comes in, is the house was just pitch black. So I'm like trying to scuttle around, like feeling for things. And I get to the front area where my front door walkway is. We have our shoes over there. So I'm like trying to find a pair of my shoes. I cannot. I grab whatever two freaking shoes I can find. And it happened to be two right-footed shoes. One was mine, one was my brother, and he had way bigger feet than I did. So I'm just like, don't care. I'm putting these suckers on, and I freaking bolt outside, and I bolt down to my neighbor's house. I don't even know how I managed to do it, because this one shoe was just like flopping on my foot. I'm just in a pure state of panic. And I managed to make it down to my neighbor's house, and this was at like, close to 1 o'clock by this time. And I'm just pounding on their door. And thank goodness that the neighbors knew me, because they had a daughter. And I wouldn't say I was best friends with their daughter, but we were definitely acquaintances. There's been times where like I actually had slept over at their house before. So like I already knew the neighbors and everything. So anyways, I was panicking, knocking on the door. And then obviously, thank goodness, they answered. They saw it was me and they knew who I was. So they let me in. And they kind of knew what was happening, obviously. But I obviously told them what was going on. They were totally fine with that. The daughter was actually gone at this time. So they just went and like set me up in their room, and that's where I slept for the night. So eventually I went up to the room, and I was still like panicked. There was obviously nothing I could really do at this time. And obviously they went and like figured stuff out while I was just like calming down in the bedroom. And at this point too, it's a little fuzzy for me, because like I think I was just in pure state of panic. I think I kind of just like, I don't know. I think I just went in the room and just like blacked out, because I don't remember much else what happened other than that. I remember, I guess, falling asleep and then waking up the next day. So my brother, I ended up talking to him, and I found out what happened. This whole ordeal that made me terrified of the dark. His party he went at, it actually wasn't that far away from our house. So one of his friends they lived in a pretty nice fancy house at a big pool and everything. So that's where they would go do the party at, which is probably, I don't know, probably like a couple, 5 miles or something away from us. So long story short, what happened is 2 girls coming from that party, they were coming home or going home. They crashed into the light, or they crashed into the phone or the telephone poles or whatever, the transformers, I believe that's what they're called. They crashed their car into that, and the big old box above, I guess like it like exploded, and that's where I saw all the lights. That's where I heard the giant explosion noise from. And like my brain at the time didn't put those 2 and 2 together. All I heard, giant explosion, power went out, giant flashing, which obviously thinking of it now is like, it's kind of obvious, but my brain at that time, I just didn't know what was going on. And then I hear girls screaming, and then I hear girls screaming they're bleeding. What was I to think? Like I said, I think I was like at 12 at this time. It was scary. It was absolutely terrifying. And obviously it comes down to the story. And let me point out, the girls were okay. The girls were okay. I think they got a couple like little scratches and bruises on them, but they were totally okay. They got, they went to the hospital and everything like that. They got checked out, but nothing serious happened to them. There was no broken bones, no like major gashes or anything on them. I think they crashed and they were panicking themselves because, the big explosion thing happened. And, when you're coming from a party, and I think they were drinking, they probably just went in panic mode. And the one girl probably has a couple of scratches on her, so she saw maybe a little bit of blood or something. So she probably went into more panic mode, like, I'm bleeding. But either way, it was really scary. And ever since that night happened, like, I know the grand scheme of things, what happened, and it ultimately wasn't as scary as my brain thought it was. But either way, that was like a really traumatizing experience for myself. So ever since then, I've been really scared of the dark, like especially outside. So ever since then, I'm just not a fan of the dark. Even in my house, if I wake up at night and I'm like thirsty and I want to go grab something to drink, I'm like peeking around the corners, being like, oh, "There's nothing scary here." I don't know. It's kind of silly, I know, but that's my little spooky story of why I am now scared of the dark. Like to this day, I'm kind of scared of the dark. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit of baby. I don't care. I'm okay with that. But yeah, let me know if you have any scary stories of your own to tell. You can let me know them in the comments below. Or if you want me to tell your scary story, let me know. Like I said, let me know in the comments below that as well. I can like provide an email. You can send in your stories for me and then I can like read them. And yeah, I thought that'd be kind of fun. I really like scary stories. I have other stories I can tell as well. This was just kind of like a little testing the waters of things, but I would really love to tell more scary stories. And like if you want me to tell one of your scary stories, I think that would be really fun too, of course with your permission. I'm not going to tell any of your stories unless you give me permission to do so. And yeah, thank you so much. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.